covered Portage Cove, and this is the inner section of the anchorage. I stayed out in the outer section. When I got in yesterday, there were, I think, 10 boats or 12 boats in this little section, so it felt too busy. But in hindsight, I probably could have got in here. There's lots more room, it looks like, from the outside. So there's sort of a entry to the inner cove, and this is outer Portage Cove. Can't quite see how stunning that rock face is because of the lighting. But again, out here this morning, there's only 5 boats left, but there were almost another 4 or 5 more than are out here this morning. So anyway, Portage Cove, lovely. We're gonna get the boat packed up and head over to Killarney for a late fish and chip lunch. Okay, so it's Wednesday. We've just left covered Portage, depending on whether you live in Winnipeg or not, behind us, and we're out on Killarney Bay. Another like puffy white clouds, blue sky. Look at the scenery behind me. I mean, those hills are just spectacular. Out ahead, more scenery, and over here, oh, here, Sheep Island. So we're gonna go around Sheep Island and up the Killarney Channel, and we're gonna try and get some fish and chips for a mid-afternoon meal, and then maybe a nap, and we'll get going on our way to southern Georgian Bay. Here we go. First look at Killarney Channel. Okay, we're maybe an hour out of Killarney. If I look backwards, you can see over my shoulder here, that's the front of the boat. We're headed towards, I'm not sure if you can just make out a little island just off the bow over here. There-ish, maybe. That's Apus Island, and we need to leave it to starboard, and then we'll head up a couple of degrees, and that's going to be our course, 143 degrees true, to get directly to Christian Island. There's 3 islands at the sort of that separate Severn Sound and Midland Penetang Bays from Georgian Bay proper, and those islands are at sort of at the tip of that transition from Georgian Bay to Severn Sound. Beckwith, Christian, and Hope. And I've stayed at Beckwith once before, but the wind tomorrow morning, afternoon is not going to be perfect for Beckwith. So I think Christian Island or Hope Island is going to offer me better holding. So that's where we're headed. Should right now our target time there is about 6:30 in the morning, so a little earlier than I had hoped or planned, but you know, I suspect the wind's going to shut down a little bit overnight. So I'll show you, I'll spin the camera around and show you what kind of scenery and what's going on out here. So back there, you can just sort of see it in the haze. That's Killarney, and those mountains that we saw in the background when we were on Fraser Bay. And over there, that's the mainland. I'm not sure what islands all of those are. You know, but Perry Sound's over there somewhere, much further down yet. And out ahead, Apus Island, it's right there. Don't know what that island is, and Manitoulin is in the distance over there. Now, the sailing out here is absolutely spectacular. I've probably got 8 or 9 knots of breeze from just ahead of the beam. So you can see we've got our sails trimmed for sort of a close to beam reach, and we're making 5.5 knots. Super comfortable. I'm able to read my book, and the miles are just passing by under the keel. That's Papoose Island in the background, and that's essentially the last obstacle that I needed to pay attention to as I escaped from Killarney. It is now 76 miles of more or less wide open lake, as long as I can stay on this heading, to get to my destination at Hope Island. 76 miles, let's use 75 to be for round numbers. 75 means at 5 knots I have 15 hours of sailing. At 6 knots I have, a little bit more than 12 hours of sailing. So it should be sometime early in the morning on Thursday when I arrive at my anchorage, and that's great. I only need to stay awake for one night. Shouldn't be too difficult, and then I can spend tomorrow puttering around on the boat and getting the boat ready for Angie's arrival. As usual, I forgot to check what time it is, but it's probably in the 7:30 range, something like that. You can see the sun is getting a little on the low side. It's Wednesday night. I'm out here, I don't know, maybe a third of the way down towards those islands I was talking about outside of Penetang. Last time I checked, we had about 62 miles to go. It is just, again, just a stunning evening of sailing out here. I've got maybe 7 knots, 8 knots of breeze, almost a beam. We're making 5.5, just steady. I've had to, every 3 or 4 minutes I get up and trim in and trim out and trim in and trim out as the wind moves around a little bit, and I do expect it to swing overnight. By Thursday morning it should be coming from almost 180 degrees the opposite direction, but it should be steady and pleasant all night tonight. I've been reading my book, having snacks, and played the guitar for half an hour or so, and now I'm going to start having to think about getting on some long pants and a couple of layers and brewing a thermos full of tea. Anyway, here's a quick look around. You're not going to see land anywhere, but beautiful Georgian Bay, Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, Canada flag. There'll be a sunset video for sure. So, we just had a main belt break. So that belt broke, it's almost 8 o'clock here on Wednesday night. The wind had pretty much shut off as the sun got low, and so I had turned on the motor to just to keep making headway. And I had noticed for a couple of days that the belt was burning a little bit, especially it started a couple of weeks ago, early on in the trip, but mostly only when I was like revving up from low RPM to something a little bit more than that. It would squeal, and I took a look at tensioning it. There's the sunset happening, by the way. So I had a look at tensioning that belt a couple of days ago, and double checked to make sure that I had a spare on board before I left today, just in case. And I'm super glad that I did, because that's exactly what happened. Was 5 minutes after turning the motor on, I noticed that sort of burnt rubber smell, and then 10 minutes after that, the oil pressure alarm started screaming in my ear, and so by the time I got the engine shut off and got down below, the belt had pretty much shredded itself and come apart, and so the oil pump wasn't pumping. I should have thought at the time to take a couple of pictures and videos, just, you know, so people could see how that all happens, but about 15 minutes of monkeying around with a couple of nuts to loosen off the adjusting opportunities. There's 3 spots where you can adjust the tension on this belt using the alternator pivot points, and so 2 of them had to come undone. A little bit finicky, kind of greasy, but all in all, I was happy that I had mentally prepared for it. So we're back underway again now, and there isn't a hint of burnt rubber or squealing, so I think we're in good shape, and I'll pop into a Napa when I get to shore tomorrow or Friday and pick up a new belt. Sunset. Gorgeous. So an entirely different feeling this morning as opposed to yesterday morning and last night, you know, before sundown. I'm about 3 miles away from Hope Island. It's been challenging. Right after sunset, the wind shifted behind the boat, but not far enough that it made going dead downwinds not a great idea in the dark. So I was 30 degrees off course and still deep enough that the head sail was slatting and banging all night. Then around 2 o'clock this morning, the wind shifted about 150 degrees to beam from the other side, and the seas were super confused. So it's been a tough evening, tough night overnight. I got maybe 3.5 hours sleep in 15-minute increments, and then this morning has been mostly motoring into the wind because it shifted another 50 degrees. So you can see it's gray, it's overcast, it's cold. The seas have settled down quite a bit now. I was just able to take the main down about 15 minutes ago. I'm all harnessed in and looking forward to getting into an anchorage and making myself some bacon and eggs. Thursday evening, anchored in Sandy Bay on Hope Island. Beautiful anchorage, lots of boats, really big wide open anchorage. There were a bunch of boats here this morning. Some have come and gone, and others have come in. I'm in quite a bit better spirits now than I was when I got here this morning. I've had a big breakfast and a pot of coffee. I was quite hungry. Hadn't eaten since the fish and chips in Killarney. So when I got here, I had a little nap, bite to eat, another little nap, and then got an oil change done on the Westerbeek and cleaned up the engine room a little bit, cleaned up the boat, got it all reorganized so there's a little more room for the weekend, and just about ready to cook dinner. Swam a bunch of times. The water here is incredible. Anchored in 10 feet, and the water is as clear as water anywhere I've ever seen. I can almost literally count the chain links on the anchor. So good day, much needed after a long and difficult passage last night. And tomorrow Angie comes, and we're gonna maybe come back here for an anchor overnight at some point on the weekend. Have a great Friday.